What's up, guys? Welcome to Fed by Fire. I'm Christian Whitlow. Thanks for being here. So, tonight there's something happening that I want to talk about that I think everybody in the recovery community needs to be paying attention to. And I'm not talking about this from a perspective of somebody who just read a headline on Facebook and decided to make a video about it. I'm talking about this as somebody who spent years of my life addicted to opiates, somebody who knows what it feels like to be sick, broke, and desperate, and looking for anything that might keep you from going back out and getting high. And the DEA is temporarily moving 7 and several related substances into Schedule 1 under the Controlled Substances Act. And before we go any further, I want to make something extremely clear because I've already seen people talking about this, like the federal government just made all Kratom illegal. That is not what the announcement says. The DEA says this action is aimed at concentrated or synthetic 7 products and related substances. The agency specifically says that botanical kratom containing naturally occurring 7 below the specified threshold is not covered by this temporary scheduling action. And that distinction, I think, matters a lot because when I hear people talking about 7 and kratom like they're automatically the same thing, I think we're missing a huge part of the conversation. Kratom comes from a plant called Mitragina speciosa. I probably butchered that, but it's been used in Southeast Asia for generations, and here in America, people have used kratom for a whole bunch of different reasons, me included. Some people use it for pain, some people use it because they say it helps them get through opioid withdrawal, and some people use it because they're trying to stay off those kinds of drugs as well. And some people just simply use it recreationally. So I'm not sitting here telling you kratom is harmless. It isn't, but in moderation, there are some legitimate concerns about dependence, and I never seen that myself. I myself never had any kratom withdrawals, and I used it for years. But then again, I was using the leaf kratom, and the 7 had not really came out all the way yet when I was using it. But so it creates a dependence, especially, in combined with other substances, and it has reactions with other substances as well, and other health risks. And the FDA has warned about kratom and has specifically warned consumers about concentrated 7 products. But the FDA says 7 products can have potent opioid like effects. I wouldn't know. I never tried them. Like I said, guys, I'm on the shot. But they have got reports involving addiction, and that's something too that I've been seeing everywhere. Is I've been seeing videos recently where people are like saying that they were strung out on 7 and had withdrawal symptoms and the whole nine from it. So I'm not making this video to tell anybody to go out and buy kratom. I'm making this video because I lived through something I think gets forgotten whenever we talk about drug policy. The person who is addicted is not sitting around thinking about federal regulations. The person who is sick is thinking about how they're going to make it through the next few hours. And I know that because I was that person. There was years of my life when that kind of thing had completely taken over. I was physically dependent on opioids, and kratom really helped me in some predicaments. I knew what it felt like when I didn't have what I needed. I knew what withdrawal felt like, and I know what desperation comes with when you're dope sick. And the only thing you can think about is making that sickness stop. During those years, there were times when kratom was a godsend for me, like I just said, and when I had nothing else, kratom was one of those things that really helped me get through. Now, let me be extremely clear about what I'm saying. I'm not saying it cured my addiction by no means, but if you're in that life and you're using any type of opioids, the leaf kratom is what helped me get by. Obviously, I think you should get off of them altogether. My advice to anybody is get off that shit and get on Sublocade ASAP. I'm not saying though Kratom is any type of replacement for legitimate medical treatment. It's not. I'm not saying everybody should use it. I'm definitely not saying that concentrated 7.0 products are the same thing as ordinary botanical Kratom. I'm telling you what it meant to me personally, that there were moments when I was an addict where I didn't have what I needed and I didn't have the money or I didn't have the access to treatment. I didn't have the resources that I have today, and I was just trying to make it through another day without going back out. And Kratom at the time gave me a whole nother option. And that's the part of this conversation that I don't want people to forget whatsoever. Because when you're sitting in an office looking at drug policy on paper, you can look at a substance and say, this has some serious risks. This can cause dependence. This interacts with opioid receptors. This can be abused, and it can all get lost in all type of legalese. And some of these concerns are completely legitimate, don't get me wrong. But there is another question that I think has to be asked. What happens when the person who is using this substance because it's their only option outside of H or Freddy? That's the question I keep coming back to. I'm not saying that every person who uses Kratom should go back to using street drugs if they lose access to it. That's something I can prove that, and I don't want to make that a claim like that whatsoever. What I'm saying is that harm reduction is about meeting people where they are. And when I was deep in addiction, I wasn't where I am today. I wasn't sitting here talking to you guys about recovery. Didn't have the beautiful life I have now. I wasn't thinking about being a father or building any type of future. I was just thinking about being well. And I know a lot of people, that's where they are in life. And that's the reality of addiction. And sometimes the difference between somebody continuing down the road forward and somebody getting another day to think about recovery can be an option, and it doesn't look perfect on paper by no means. That's why I think this conversation needs to be more nuanced than kratom good or kratom bad. The DEA's position that these concentrated 7.0 products are an emerging threat. The agency says that highly concentrated and synthetic 7.0 products can have unpredictable effects. And at the end of the day, you guys really don't know what they're putting in that shit overseas. And they're being sold in every tobacco store in the country, in the tablets, the capsules, the gummies, any kind, the shots, the dissolvable strips, any kind of way they can pump it out, they're pumping it out. And the FDA has also been very clear that it considers concentrated 7.0 products, like we said, different from ordinary kratom, and I think that is the huge distinction. Well, guys, in my opinion, if 7.0 is out here doing what I've seen, which it seems like it has caused a lot more harm than good, then they need to get that shit off the shelves. But as long as they're keeping regular leaf kratom and, somebody who's strung out has the access to it, then I think that's a beautiful thing. Tell me what you guys think about kratom, or has kratom helped you in your life through addiction? Let me know in the comments. Peace.